Welcome to Reverent and Rebellious, a safe space for faith-based conversations on the things that nobody seems to want to talk about these days. We are reverent, we value truth, we elevate scripture, but we are also rebellious. We shatter myths and we destroy dogma, so jump in. Join us, Logan, Pat, and me, the brother Peter, as we get reverent and we get rebellious.
What's up, everybody?
Coming from a new location, Logan's got a 14-mile driveway. I passed by it twice. I didn't know where I was going.
We are in the new digs.
But we finally made it.
Yeah, y'all see how dark it is in here?
I know.
We do not have, the building is not wired up. We got, for our firefighters that listen, we got a couple of them. I got like 8 things plugged into a strip over there powering up everything in here. So. Yeah,
but I will say, Logan, congratulations. Your house is beautiful. It
Thanks,
looks
man.
great. I love the location out here. It's nice. It's off the road, so you guys won't hear any cows mooing. You guys won't hear any of that kind of stuff right now.
Yep. No, man, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's I did not want neighbors, and I do not really have any neighbors.
You do not. It's beautiful, though. It's nice.
Does. It did increase my drive time by 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes. Did you go down double bridges?
I did not. I did not.
Oh, you don't get to go down double bridges no more.
I'm so eternally thankful that I don't have to go down that road anymore.
Did you just come straight down Holly Grove and hit Gildan? How'd you come?
Beaver Road.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the way we go now. I don't hardly ever go down double bridges anymore.
No, there's no need.
That haunted road is no longer a part of your life.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Werewolves and zombies and
Praise the Lord.
Old men with flashlights at midnight. I don't. That's just a crazy thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And last week it was so cold.
Yeah.
And all I could think of was I got to get past Double Bridges Road because if I break down now, I can't walk any. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I don't either. I don't know what you would do.
I don't know.
Holly Grove gas station is going to take a hit on their overhead because I don't go there anymore.
You won't be stopping to pick up your monsters there, your satanic monsters.
Yep, I get them right down the road here now.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, if people don't hit that like button, hit subscribe, we're going to take you down to Double Bridges Road.
That's exactly right.
You need to do that and leave us a comment, leave us a rating and a review. I haven't looked in a little while just because I told y'all I've been a little disappointed, so I haven't even looked. But I'm trusting that this next episode, after this episode, we're going to have more. So, I'm looking for more ratings and reviews, and we get some good comments there, Pat?
We did.
Pat will not quit airing that chair up. It's like the 12th time already.
Man. It's so bad.
Y'all watch this. You that are watching,
go ahead and count.
I want y'all to count. Yeah, how many times
I have to pump my chair back up?
Let us know in the comments.
It's the mysterious disappearing chair.
So Amber says, great episode. Revelation is extremely intimidating book. I appreciate y'all digging into it.
Nice.
Rhonda tells us, gentlemen, I thank all of you for corporately and individually unveiling this book in a way that I can not only understand it, but hold on, let's read more. But so that I can truly appreciate it. Seriously, because I am not the sharpest tool in the shed. Kudos.
Hey, me either. Yeah.
No,
and
we're
then
not that smart.
Rhonda says, Glass Caskets, nice name for a metal band.
Glass Cat, that is a good metal band.
It really
name.
is. You know what? I'm going to put that in my pocket.
I was going to say, Glass Caskets.
I will hold on to that.
I will play cowbell in that band for you.
Yes.
All right, and Aunt Ruby says...
she's got a long one on here.
She says, I was just cold watching y'all. we were cold too.
Did you notice if you start watching my little hoodie or pullover was unzipped down here by the very end, it zipped all the way up.
It was so cold. Me and Peter were talking about it the next night at church, and we were like, I did not get warm till I got home. It was
I
bad.
I was still shivering on all the way down Holly Grove
I had to
Road.
take a shower when I got in just to warm up.
Ruby says, I believe in pre-tribulation rapture, so I've told myself I won't have to worry about tribulation. But I know I could be wrong about pre-tribulation, so I can't really lean on that. I'm old now, so I will probably die before this happens. But then again, it could be in process right now. The only thing we can control is ourselves, so we need to fill ourselves with God's word. Let him fill us up until there is no room for fear and doubts. I say that, but I am an obsessive warrior. You should check out this sermon about why
2
should
weeks
I
ago.
worry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She said, so it is easier said than done. Peter just preached a sermon
I did.
on why should you worry?
Why worry?
Why do you worry? Yes, absolutely.
I think it's a Rose family trait because
Worrying?
my mother's a terrible worrier and I am also a terrible worrier. That's what I was telling Peter off air. This sermon series he's been teaching and been leading us down, man, it has been exactly what I have needed.
That's awesome.
Every Sunday I'm like, after every Sunday, I'm like, man, that one was even more aimed at me. And then it's just each Sunday after, I'm like, that one's even more aimed at me.
It's so funny though, because like me and Stacy were talking about it. Stacy is a warrior.com.
Yeah.
And Peter preached that sermon, and we were in the truck on the way home, and she goes, "That didn't really affect you, did it?" And I was like, nah. And she's like, "Well, what if your truck breaks down?" I'm like, "Screw it, my truck sucks anyway. Let it blow up. I don't care. We'll figure it out." You know, like I don't let things get to me anymore.
Yeah.
But that is an acquired trait, should I say.
That's one of the things I said. You can start it, you can stop it.
That's right.
Yep.
Because it took a long time through therapy and medications and trauma and all kinds of stuff throughout my life that I had to realize that there's a lot of stuff that's out of my control.
Yeah.
And I can add to it by worrying.
Yeah.
And that is for sure what we do is when we worry, we add to it.
Yeah.
You know,
and for people that don't know, I'm a worrier, but like I give kudos to Pat because Pat is an Army veteran. I don't know, we don't toot his horn on here enough, but Pat is an Army veteran. He has been in stuff that I'll never experience in my life, and he has overcome that very well.
Yeah.
So, when I say I'm a worrier, my stuff is like little goofy worrying. Pat has actually experienced some stuff.
See, no, it's not though, because like what is prevalent in your life is number one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we can't, that's kind of apples to oranges because each person, because there's so many times, especially with young people, do you hear people say all the time, it's like, well, when I was a kid, we had to, walk up the hill, to school both ways and
in the
blah,
snow.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But this generation has a problem all of their own that we will never understand.
No, that's true.
Yeah, that is
true.
And so like each person has their own cross to bear, to not sound cheesy for a religious podcast, but it's very true. Like each person has their own cross to bear, but at the end of the day, we can't really control the world. No, and it doesn't matter if it's a combat world, if it is a school-shaped world, if it is a church-shaped world. It doesn't matter. We can't control the world.
Yeah, that's true.
I know. I mean, young people today, sometimes their phone goes dead.
And it's game over.
Oh my Lord!
It is game over.
Yes.
You let Peyton's iPad die.
All right, I'm gonna give myself some crap today. I had to go to Verizon today because my phone has been saying I'll lose my service and it'll say no SIM card detected. And I've had this phone for several years, and I'm pretty terrible on the phone on the farm. Like it takes a beating. Mm-hmm. And I told Marcy because it would go out, I would have no service, and I couldn't text or call even if I had Wi-Fi. And so we went up to Verizon. They fixed it, but I told her we were leaving Verizon. I said, I hate to admit it, but I said, I've gotten so used to having this thing that when it's out of service, I'm like, over. I'm all messed up.
Yeah.
Look, our house is like that. When we got new field lines, they accidentally cut our fiber optic cable. And then I realized our television, our phones, everything in our
cut
home.
off from the known world.
Yeah, everything in our home
Pat's
runs
sending
on
smoke
internet.
signals up asking what time we're meeting.
And so like, I'm like, what do I do now?
Yeah, you got to go out and dig in the dirt or something.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know? Yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
Well,
you had on a loincloth like.
And then Peyton came along.
Yep, there you go. See, that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's when it happened.
Yeah, you can usually track a baby boom to when the cable went out, right?
An ice storm.
COVID.
Yep. Yep.
Well, you know what tends to make people worry is the book of Revelation.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true.
And I'm learning it shouldn't.
It's,
Exactly.
it is a very hopeful book.
It is.
I know.
It is.
When you break it down, it is a very hopeful book with awesome imagery.
Yep.
Yeah, and even the locusts.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we were just talking about, sort of the whole worrying thing. And, we're talking about AI and fake stuff. And,
Logan relate to this. You know what the book of Revelation is? It's listening to the Master of Puppets album on spring break.
That is very fitting. Yes,
Right.
that is.
That's
no
what it
frame
is.
of reference to that.
Yeah, that's what it is. It is listening to
You didn't
Master of
jam
Puppets.
some Master of Puppets?
No, I don't even
It's
know
one of Metallica's
I was gonna
heaviest
say,
albums.
yes.
I didn't even jam some amateur puppets.
But that's what it is. It is jamming Master
Now,
of
if you
Puppets on
just
spring break.
said like jamming Emerson, Lake and Palmer on spring break.
That's exactly what Pat's jamming on spring break.
That's exactly what I'm jamming. that is my go-to.
Some TLC over there.
I don't want no scrubs.
There was this guy, this kind of older guy. It took him a while, but he finally decided he needed to go back to church. Mm-hmm. And so he goes to church, and he's walking out, and he hears this old woman talking to her little circle of friends. And she said, I don't know what that guy's doing in church. She said, I know where he was last night because I saw his truck parked outside the bar all night long. What kind of business does he have coming into church like this after he's been? I mean, I saw his truck right there. And so you know what the guy did?
What'd he do?
That night, late at night, he drove his truck to this woman's house, parked it on the sidewalk, and walked home.
Hold on.
His truck was outside her house all night long.
Okay.
That one's a slow burn. It takes a
That
minute.
is a slow burner.
Okay. Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Well done.
Oh man, that is that is a slow
He
burner.
just walked home.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
So,
we're stupid.
just put that one in your tool belt next time.
You're stupid.
Next time somebody gives you a hard time. Yeah. So here we are in
What chapter?
Revelation 10.
10.
Revelation 10. It's a short chapter. It kind of has three little components to it. Now, you remember, after the throne room scene, 4 and 5, then we got into, we're going to, just before we're going to get into the seals, right?
Yep.
Not those seals. There's a little interlude. Remember, there was like a big giant worship service in heaven. And there was all this back and forth and singing hymns and singing new songs and all this stuff. It was a little interlude.
So are we about to have an interlude now?
Okay, yeah, we are. Because you remember, after the 6th seal, before we got to get to the 7th seal, there was another interlude. Now, the first interlude after the throne room was a worship service. The second interlude, if you remember, is when the 4 angels from the 4 corners of the earth were restrained long enough for God to put the seal of God, the mark of God, on the foreheads of the 144,000 and then ultimately of the multitude in the heavens, right?
Now,
So,
is this because every interlude sets up the next series and 7 starts the next series?
it is. 7 is the transition point. But here's the weird thing about it is, and if you want to get really poetic with this and you want to sort of trace this theme through all of the scriptures, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and on the 7th, God rested.
Oh, okay.
So there's like a little Sabbath,
Okay.
and each Sabbath has a purpose.
I'm
Right?
tracking.
Yeah. So we're going to see this again. This is not the only time it happens. So the first interlude, the first Sabbath, is about the worship in heaven. The second one was about protection. Remember that there's going to be lots of stuff coming down, and the ones who have the mark of God are they're not going to be lifted out of it. They're going to be kept right there, but they're going to be kept. God is going to keep them. Keep my word, and I will keep you. Okay. So. That's the way we sort of look at Revelation 10. Now, we've had all these trumpets, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th trumpet is the bottomless pit, and the 6th trumpet is the big army from the east. We had the 4 angels are not restrained anymore; they're released, and all this madness. We talked about God gradually lifting His hand of restraint. And so really the people who dwell on the earth, remember those are the unbelievers, as opposed to the people who dwell in heaven, which are
Residency.
you're where your citizenship is. Okay, so all of this, they're actually getting exactly what they've asked for.
Right.
Because true freedom, when it is attached to rebellion, has consequences.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the beginnings of the consequences. So now we've seen this, the sixth trumpet. It's time for the second trumpet, the seventh trumpet, but there's all this stuff that's going to happen. And there is a purpose behind everything that happens. So I'm just going to read a couple of, I'm going to read probably.
There's 11 verses, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I want to, we're going to need to deal with verses 1 through 3 first.
Okay.
So it says, so we ended up last time in chapter 9, they did not repent.
Right.
Didn't repent of anything.
Idiots.
Right, exactly. And so it says, after that, I saw another strong angel. Remember that? Chapter 5. Strong, mighty angel, another term that's used there, coming down out of heaven, clothed with a cloud.
Okay.
And the rainbow was upon his head, and his face was like the sun, and his feet like pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book, a little scroll, which was open. He placed his right foot on the sea and his left on the land, and he cried out with a loud voice as when a lion roars. And when he had cried out, the 7 peals of thunder uttered their voices. We're going to get to the thunder in just a second. Okay, so this is a strong angel. Another strong angel. If you look back in chapter 5, you will see this other strong angel. Where is it?
Verse 2.
2. Oh, I'm on the wrong page. Yeah. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, who is worthy to open the book and to break its seals. Okay, so now we see another strong angel. Now, I want to give you all a clue as to, we're going to have to figure out who this strong angel is.
Yeah.
Another also could be the word for different. I saw a different strong angel. Yeah, another.
So it's not the same one in chapter 5.
It is not.
Okay.
So the word is allos, which means a different or another kind.
Okay.
Okay. So face value, Pat. Who is this other strong angel?
Gabriel.
It's not Gabriel.
So
we just know it's not Gabriel.
So it's not Michael.
It's not Michael either.
Raphael.
Hernando.
Donatello.
Michelangelo. Yes. All right. There are two views about this. Probably the most popular view because it's really the most neat and tidy. We're not about neat and tidy.
I was going to say, that sounds kind of lame.
Yeah, I know. But they're talking about another strong angel, so it must be just exactly like the first strong angel, only just a different one. And so this is God's representative. This is Christ's agent. And so because here we have one of the things that make this different is you recognize some of this language, right? Rainbow. Remember where we saw the rainbow?
The promise.
Yeah.
In the throne room.
Yep.
Oh,
Remember
yeah.
Around the throne, it was like emerald,
Promise
right?
complete.
And we talked about the covenant, the idea of covenant faithfulness, and it goes back to the rainbow in Genesis, just like you said. His face was like the sun. Remember when we saw that? Face was like the sun. We saw that in chapter 1, right? Yeah, his eyes were flaming with fire, and his face was bright like the sun. We even saw this in Matthew 17:2, the transfiguration.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So it says his feet like pillars of fire. Now we don't see feet like fire, but we do see feet like bronze burned in the fire, right? Cries out with a loud voice. Remember, we had the voice of like the roar of many waters. Only this time it's a lion.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a lot of this this Jesus language and Ancient of Days language. And if we go back to Daniel, remember, you had the hair like wool and you had the eyes like fire and the face was brilliant and bright like sun. Okay, so you got this. The idea is this. It's this representative of God, and this angel comes down to the earth carrying with it the attributes of God and speaking the words of God and speaking the message of God. In other words, speaking for God.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Are you buying that?
Yeah, sounds pretty
True
pretty
definition
solid
of the
to
word
me.
angel.
Yeah. What if
What if
Good
it was
song.
some Creed going over here?
I was Creed-ish and I didn't even know it?
You're welcome.
What if entertain this idea that this is actually Jesus?
Well, I was wondering if that's where you were kind of going with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's the other view, and I think that it is really the most consistent view.
Why would they call him an angel, though?
Okay, here's the deal. Here's what John is angling for. And you got to go down this road with me. It's going to bend your mind just a little bit. This is something called an angelomorphic Christology.
Okay.
Angelomorphic Christology.
So is that a Christophany through angelic form?
Yes, that is exactly what it is.
Okay.
Okay. So in the Old Testament, we have these events called theophanies. Theo, God coming in form of a person or having the appearance like a man, right?
Right.
Ancient of Days language that it'd be like a theophany.
Yeah.
Then you have a Christophany, which is where we see the pre-incarnate Jesus as a man, like in human form, like as a human.
It's like when he visited the disciples after.
Well, in the Old Testament, they call this the angel of the Lord a lot.
The
I
angel,
got you.
capital
Okay.
The angel.
Yeah, and so when you see the fourth man in the fire, Shadrach,
Yep.
Meshach, and Abednego,
Yep.
Yeah.
one like
Okay.
the Son of God. That's the pre-incarnate Jesus. You can't call him Jesus because he's only named Jesus when he actually takes on human form, human flesh. But he appears as a human, and
Right.
so you remember when Abraham met the three, well, I guess we'll call them angels. One was Yahweh.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're reasonably sure one was the pre-incarnate Jesus, and so you can kind of go down that path. This is
So tell me again, what is theophany?
theophany is when God appears as a human. So you can go to Isaiah 6. The year King Uzziah died, I was in the temple and I saw the Lord.
Yeah.
It was his train filled the temple.
You got theophany and Christophany. Theophany is when the Lord, the Father, shows up.
Yeah.
Christophany is when Christ shows up.
Right.
Oh,
in
it's the
flesh.
Chris.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
That's exactly right. So angelomorphic Christology is when we have a Christophany, and the Christophany it uses the word angel.
Gotcha.
So it's just Christ in angelic form?
Yeah, or bearing the title of angel, or having assigned the title of angel.
Gotcha.
Okay, so this is not to suggest that the second person of the Trinity is an angel.
Correct.
So let's not go down that path.
Right.
Angels are created beings. Jesus is not a created being. That's not what we're suggesting.
Nor is
here.
he just flesh.
No, not at all. No, it'd be very Gnostic of you.
Right.
Yeah. No, this is well, we're going to look at a few examples of this because we're going to unpack this. But angelomorphic Christology associates Jesus, the pre-incarnate Jesus, with the angel of the Lord. Okay, so in this view, the angel so let's go back to Revelation 1:1. Okay. 1:1, right at the beginning, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show his bond servants the things which must shortly take place, and he sent and communicated it by his angel. Now, my best friend Michael Heiser says this is the same angel. This is
the same as the strong angel.
Angelomorphic Christophany as well. And we'll look at this exactly right now. Okay, so Pat, read Exodus 23:20. Well, actually, 20 through 23.
Exodus 20.
Exodus 23, 20 through 23.
All right. Behold, I am going to send an angel before you to guard you along the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Be on your guard before him and obey his voice. Do not rebel towards him, for he will not pardon your transgressions, since my name is in him. But if you truly obey his voice and do all that I say, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. For my angel will go before you and bring you into the land of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hivitites, the Jebusites, and I will completely destroy them.
The termites, all the ites.
All the ites, termites.
Yeah, okay. It's very, very key words right here. I'm sending my angel. Okay.
It's very specific angel, right?
Yeah, it says, do everything that it says because my name is in him. Now, this is a whole category of theology called name theology. When the commandment says, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain.
Yeah.
That word take it means to carry or to bear. And so anytime that the name Yahweh is in somebody, that means it's of one essence.
Gotcha.
And so he says, I'm going to send my angel before you. My name is in him. And when my angel goes before you, then you will conquer all the stuff. So basically, we know this is the pre-incarnate Jesus, this is the angel of the Lord. And he uses specifically the word angel several times. Now,
is this the same thing in Luke when the angel of the Lord came to Zechariah?
it's not the same angel of the Lord.
Okay.
It is an angel.
Okay.
There's a different article right there.
Okay.
So it's a messenger.
Okay.
Specifically appointed to Zechariah, and another messenger comes to Joseph.
Okay.
And so that clearly is, what we would probably tag like the angel kind. Okay.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. So that's what happens there. Now, the angel of the Lord in the Old Testament shows up, several times. If we look at the whole burning bush incident, if you look there, you see. Okay, well let me go back there. Maybe I can find it. Exodus 3. Is that where it is? The burning bush thing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Exodus 3. I'm gonna get there. These lights are kind of funky. they glare a little bit.
You'll notice it's a little darker behind us.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Moses is pasturing the flock. An angel of the Lord appeared to him in a blazing fire from the midst of a bush. Now, when it says appeared, that means made himself visible, so Moses could see him. So there's a form. It's not just disembodied fire.
Yeah.
And the angel of the Lord appeared. He could see him. And he looked.
So the pictures are all deceiving when it just shows a flame.
That's exactly right. He says, the bush was burning with fire, yet the bush was not consumed. And so he went to look. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God, Yahweh, called to him from the midst of the bush. He said, Moses said, here I am. Okay, so then he tells him to remove his feet, and he says, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, so on and so forth. Then Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. He could see God, but he looked away from God. Okay, so he wasn't just looking at fire. And the Lord said, and so he says, I'm come down, and he says, behold the cry of the sons, and all this stuff. And so Moses talks to God, and he said, who am I? And then they go on down, and God says to Moses, I am who I am. Okay, so at what point did the angel of the Lord turn into God?
Well, was it not from the get-go?
Well, yes and no. Because really what we see here is we see two figures, basically.
Right.
We see the angel of the Lord, but then we see the big God who says, I am who I am. That's where we get the Yahweh. That's where we get the Tetragrammaton. So we see both in there at the same time. So, are there two figures? Is it just the angel of the Lord who's speaking on God's behalf? Because, as the angel speaks, but then God speaks and Moses speaks to God, it gets a little bit, it gets a little bit convoluted there. It's a little bit confusing. Well, there's this theology among Israelites. There's Israel's theology of the idea of two powers in heaven.
Yeah.
It's the two power theology.
Yeah.
That there was a Yahweh who was invisible and a Yahweh who was human, basically, or appeared in human form. Now, this is a primitive way of looking at this, and we would never say, it kind of implies that God and Jesus are two separate things,
right?
In which they are distinct, but they are one essence, so they are the same, right?
Yeah.
And we throw the Holy Spirit in there and make the Trinity.
Yep.
This is the early bones of the Trinity, basically.
Gotcha.
They saw this these two powers, and in these passages like Genesis and Exodus 3 and some of these other places. And the interesting thing about this is now there's a guy named Alan Siegel who wrote this book, and this guy is Jewish. He is not a Christian. He tracked this. This book was written in the late 70s, and he tracks this two power theology, two distinct Yahwehs, all the way back to ancient Israelite times. And he tracks it all the way up to basically the turn of the millennium. It turns to A.D.
Yep.
And he found all of these rabbinic writings and teachings and commentaries about the two powers. It's the two Yahwehs and all this kind of stuff. And somewhere around 50 or so A.D. They came out, the Jewish leaders came out and identified this as heresy. It'll no longer be taught.
Wow.
Why do you think they did that? Because what happened around 30 AD, well, it was Jesus and his ministry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so people began to believe in Jesus, and then they started attaching Jesus to the second Yahweh.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
now it's the Father and the Son. Now they're the same essence because of what Jesus taught. And they're going, no, we can't accept Jesus as the Messiah. So now it's heresy.
Yeah.
Right.
So then they started teaching that God just morphed. That he was sometimes an angel and sometimes a human and sometimes God, the invisible, all this kind of stuff. So that's where we get this two powers in heaven thing. But the angel of the Lord in the Old Testament is sometimes also called the Word, also called the name, also called the one who rides the clouds. And so we look at this a little bit different now, and we see all of this this Jesus and Ancient of Days imagery in here. And then you pile on top of that, he is clothed with a cloud, and his feet are like pillars of fire. Pat, where else do we see a cloud and pillars of fire?
Throne room.
And in the Old Testament?
And in the worship in the temple.
Yeah, exactly. The cloud by day and the fire by night leads them where they're supposed to go. And the cloud comes and descends and covers the temple, and the fire is up above the temple and consumes the burnt offering.
Yep.
I mean, this is like a big time, image salad here. It's just like thrown everything in the blender. And what he's doing here is he is establishing Jesus and the message of Jesus. He's beginning with Old Testament imagery. So I want to nerd out just a little bit more.
Okay.
This is all about the Old Testament because in chapter 11, the next chapter, we're going to see the New Testament imagery.
Gotcha.
And so what John is doing is bookending this whole message thing. We're going to get to the message in a minute. That the message is from the Old Testament to the New Testament. It is from creation to the end of the age, and here it is. Okay, this is what our interlude is all about. Okay, so we're going to get into Daniel. Okay, so I want to explore this sort of angelomorphic Christology a little bit more.
Okay.
So Daniel, go to Daniel 8:15.
Daniel.
Go to Daniel 10:4.
8:15.
8:15 and read the whole thing, 8:15 through 26.
Okay. It says, "When I, Daniel, had seen the vision, I sought to understand it. And behold, standing before me was one who looked like a man. And I heard the voice of a man between the banks of Ulai, and he called out and said, Gabriel, give this man an understanding of the vision."
Okay, stop right there. Okay, so this is a man, doesn't have a name. He's standing above the waters, right?
Right.
Okay, so this is not Gabriel, because what did he just tell Gabriel? He just gave Gabriel an order.
Yeah, give this man an understanding
So
of
he's
the vision.
clearly of higher authority than Gabriel. Okay, so keep going.
So he came near to where I was standing, and when he came, I was frightened and fell upon my face. But he said to me, Son of man, understand that the vision pertains to the times at the end. Now, while he was talking with me, I sank into a deep sleep and my face to the ground. But he touched me and made me stand upright. He said, Behold, I am going to let you know that what will occur at the final period of the indignation, for it pertains to the appointed time at the end. The ram which you saw with the 2 horns represents the king of Media and Persia.
Okay, so now read. Now this is in chapter 8. We see this man, no name, but standing above, clearly having authority above Gabriel. Okay, read chapter 10, 4 through 6.
Okay. On the 24th day of the first month, while I was by the bank of the great river, that is the Tigris, I lifted my eyes and looked, and behold, there was a certain man dressed in linen, whose waist was girded with a belt of pure gold of Uphaz. His body was also like beryl. His face had the appearance of lightning. His eyes were like flaming torches. His arms and feet like the gleam of polished bronze, and the sound of his words like the sound of a tumult.
Yes.
There you go.
So what do you got there? I mean, it's pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same man. It's the same man. So now we get this image, language sort of pulled in. We've seen this before. This is not, okay. So now go on down to verse 9 and read through 21.
Okay. Still in 10. Okay. But I heard the sound of his words, and as soon as I heard the sound of his words, I fell into a deep sleep on my face. Well, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
With my face to the ground. Then, behold, a hand touched me and set me trembling on my hands and knees. He said to me, O Daniel, man of high esteem, understand the words that I am about to tell you and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. And when he had spoken this word to me, I stood up trembling. Then he said to me, Do not be afraid, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart on understanding this and on humbling yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come in response to your words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia was withstanding me for 21 days. Then behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I had been left there with the kings of Persia. Now I have come to give you an understanding of what will happen to your people in the latter days, for the vision pertains to the days yet future. Why is future italicized?
Because it wasn't in the original manuscript.
Yeah,
they supplied it to help us understand a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah. When he had spoken to me according to these words, I turned my face toward the ground and became speechless. And behold, one who resembled a human being was touching my lips. Then I opened my mouth and spoke and said to him who was standing before me, O my Lord, as a result of the vision, anguish has come upon me, and I have retained no strength. For how can such a servant of my Lord talk with such as my Lord? As for me, there remains just now no strength in me, nor has any breath been left in me. Then this one with human appearance touched me again and strengthened me. He said, O man of high esteem, do not be afraid. Peace be with you. Take courage and be courageous. Now, as soon as he spoke to me, I received strength and said, May my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. Then he said, Do you understand why I came to you? But I shall now return to fight against the prince of Persia. So I am going forth, and behold, the prince of Greece is about to come. However, I will tell you what is inscribed in the writing of truth. Yet there is no one who stands firmly with me against these forces except Michael, your prince.
Okay. So all this to say, this man figure is obviously, much more authoritative, exalted, whatever, and he gives orders to Gabriel and Michael.
Yeah, and so he clearly ain't Michael.
Yeah, it's not Michael. So read Daniel 12, 5 through 9.
Daniel 12. Come on. Okay. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, 2 others were standing on this bank of the river, and the other on the bank of the river. And one said to the man dressed in linen, who was above the waters of the river,
There's that man again.
Yep.
How long will it be until the end of these wonders? And I heard the man dressed in linen, who was above the waters of the river, as he raised his right hand and his left toward the heaven, and swore by him who lives forever that it would be for a time, times, and half a time. And as soon as they finish shattering the power of the holy people, all of these events will be completed.
Okay, so what does he do? He raises his right hand, then his left hand. Okay, so we get a sort of a version of this in Revelation. It says he placed his right foot on the sea, his left on the land. He cried out with a loud voice as when a lion roars. And when and he said, oh, wait, where is it? Yeah. We're going to get to it in just a minute. Verse 5. Then the angel whom I saw standing on the sea and on the land lifted up his right hand to heaven and swore by him who lives forever and ever. And then he quotes Exodus 20 here, who created heaven and the things in it and the earth and the things in it and the sea and the things in it, that there will be delay no longer. Okay. So all kinds of these hyperlinks that are just, pretty darn clear.
Yeah.
That this is, and so what we're talking about here in Daniel, and we're going to see this also in Joshua, this is the prince of the host.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we call him in Daniel 8:25, he calls him the prince of princes. So, read Joshua 5:13.
Hey, real quick, I got a question on this. Where it says and as soon as they finish shattering the power of the holy people.
Yeah.
What is he talking about?
He's talking about the sons of God.
Yep.
He's talking about the rebellious element.
Okay.
That's exactly what he's talking about there.
Gotcha.
The holy ones. Who are the holy ones? They're the sons of God. They're
Yeah.
The unholy holy. Yeah.
Gotcha. I got you. Well, that ain't angels. Yeah, he's talking about
exactly.
the rebellious. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a cosmic reference right there.
Yeah.
It's right there. Read Joshua 5:13 through 15.
Okay.
You'll know this passage really well.
Joshua 5:13 through 15.
Yeah.
All right. It's not in there. There's not those verses. I'm just kidding.
I know this was right. I practically got this one memorized.
All right. Now it came about when Joshua was by Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man was standing opposite him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went to him and said to him, "Are you for us or for our adversaries?" He said, "No, rather I indeed come now as captain of the host of the Lord." And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and bowed down and said to him, "What has my Lord to say to his servant?" The captain of the Lord's host said to Joshua, "Remove your sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so.
Yep. So he's the captain of the Lord's army.
Yep.
The Lord's host, the prince of hosts. Listen to this from Daniel 8. And he's talking about the small horn which grew out of the beast, right? And out of one of them came forth a rather small horn which grew exceedingly great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the beautiful land. Mm-hmm. And it grew up to the host of heaven and caused some of the host and some of the stars to fall to the earth, and it trampled them down. It even magnified itself to be equal with the commander of the host. That's the prince. That word is actually prince. The prince of the host. It even magnified itself to be equal with the prince of the host. Mm-hmm. And removed the regular sacrifice from him at the place of his sanctuary was thrown down. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now listen to it is Daniel 8:25.
While you're pulling it up, I'm going to turn this heater off so it don't kick our power out real quick.
Oh, that would not be a good thing. Okay, so and through his shrewdness he will cause deceit to succeed by his influence, and he will magnify himself in his heart, and he will destroy many while they are at ease. He will even oppose the prince of princes. Mm-hmm. But he will be broken without human agency. Mm-hmm. So here we got this theme going. We got the commander of the Lord's host. We got the prince of hosts. We got the prince of princes, right? Mm-hmm. This seals the deal. You will love this. Okay. So, Pat, look up Numbers 22:23. In Joshua 5, remember, you saw the commander of the host with a drawn sword, right?
Yep.
Okay. Look up 1 Chronicles 21:15 through 17.
All right, Numbers 22:23. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way of his drawn sword in his hand, the donkey turned off from the way and went into the field. Uh-huh. But Balaam struck the donkey and turned her back into the way.
So who is standing there?
The angel of the Lord.
With what?
sword in his hand.
Drawn. Yeah. Same thing as in Joshua 5:13. Now read 1 Chronicles 21:15 through 17.
All right. And God sent an angel to Jerusalem to destroy it. But as he was about to destroy it, the Lord saw and was sorry over the calamity, and said to the destroying angel, "It is enough. Now relax your hand." And the angel of the Lord was standing by the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. Then David lifted up his eyes and saw the angel of the Lord standing between earth and heaven with his drawn sword in his hand stretched out over Jerusalem. Then David and the elders, covered with sackcloth, fell on their faces.
I'll bet they did.
Yeah. David said to God, "Is it not I who commanded to count the people? Indeed, I am the one who has sinned and done very wickedly, but these sheep, what have they done? O Lord my God, please let your hand be against me and my father's household, but not against your people, that they should be plagued."
There you go. So, but then we see in Daniel 11, we see the same language as the little horn that opposed. We see his earthly counterpart, this king. Then the king will do as he pleases, and he will exalt and magnify himself above every god, and will speak monstrous things against, here we go, God of gods, the God of gods. And so what we're seeing here is a juxtaposition of the Prince of Princes, the Prince of the Host, and God of gods. It all gets mushed together.
Yeah.
Just like in the burning bush, just like, it's so all this 45 minutes of talking to say, this is Jesus.
Yeah.
but I want everybody to understand how this all kind of works.
Yeah.
Because John is doing something brilliant here. He is going back to this angel of the Lord stuff to remember how all the way up through to this point he's been mushing Jesus and the Father together.
Yeah.
He wants us to make sure, even in the worship scene, he's like, yeah, we're going to sing worship to the Creator, but now the Lamb shows up. Now we're going to sing to the Lamb and to the one who sits on the throne.
Yeah.
The same praise. He's just like really, really insistent about this. And here we go again. He is relating it all the way back to the angel of the Lord, who is Jesus before he was Jesus, but he's also God, who is also Yahweh. And it's all this stuff mushed together. And this is why he uses, I mean, how do you not notice as when a lion roars?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because what did we see in the throne room? He heard a lion, but then he turns around and he sees a lamb.
Yeah.
And now we've got the cloud. Now we've got the pillars of fire. It's all this Exodus / Daniel stuff.
Yeah.
All just really coming up underneath this thing. And this is really important for the next part of the chapter. Now, sidebar in verse 4. And this verse really annoys me. Because, we have the 7 seals, we have the 7 trumpets, right? Okay, so just in passing, it says the angel of the Lord cried out, 7 peals of thunder uttered their voices.
Oh, that is an annoying verse.
7 peals of thunder uttered their voices. They spoke. Okay. But then it gets worse. When the 7 peals of thunder had spoken, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven, this is clearly God, saying, seal up the things which the 7 peals of thunder have spoken, and do not write them.
So we just won't know them.
We don't know. There's 7 whole things here that we just don't know.
Wonder why.
What do you think it is? What do you think they said? You know what I really think?
What?
What's the one thing that Jesus says not even he knows?
The date?
The day.
Yeah.
You think they said the
I
date?
think they did. And God's like, nah, hold off.
Yeah.
Hold off. Because, it's right in the middle of this whole, he says, remember, he's going to say, he's going to lift up his right hand and swear by him who lives forever and ever that there will be delay no longer. And by the way, I'm coming back on this day. Oops. Don't
Not
write
going to
that
say
down.
that yet.
That's my guess. What do you think about that theory?
That could be so. That could be. Yeah, do not write them.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else
That's that. Yeah, I mean, that would be that promise.
classified.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so we get this picture. Now, I didn't say anything about his feet. Right foot on the sea is left on the land. Now, remember, chapter 8, we dealt with, the land becoming polluted and then the sea becoming polluted and all this stuff.
Yeah.
This is dominion. This is, the angel of the Lord comes down and he stomp. I own all this stuff.
Yeah.
I made it. I own it. Whatever happens, I'm going to have the final say.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, he cries out with a loud voice. The thunder's thunder. We don't know what they said. And then it says, he lifted up his right hand to heaven, swore by him who lives forever and ever. Remember that, where is it? I think I have it written down here. Maybe I don't have it. But remember, I quoted this, it's in Hebrews, I think, where he can swear by nobody higher, so he swears by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on here. He swears by himself. And so that's verse 6. He's quoting Exodus 20:11. I'm gonna just read that real quick. Exodus 20:11. I love this because it actually is in those all caps. You're reading in all caps, so you.
Well, it still has them. There is a little bit of.
Oh, okay. So it lets you know.
Yeah.
Okay. So Exodus 20. Verse 11 says,
I got to be able to see my caps, man.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You're kind of infatuated with those caps.
I am.
So he's talking about the Sabbath day. This is the 10 Commandments. He says, for in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. So there you go. He swears by the one who created all this stuff. This is a very interesting verse, verse 7. But in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he is about to sound, then the mystery of God is finished, as he preached to his servants, the prophets. Now, this verse here is why I think the trumpets are about the exact day that Jesus is coming. Because what it's talking about here is the seventh angel, when he's about to sound, the mystery of God is finished. You remember how we talked about how God purposely sort of made his plan cryptic, hidden. Those prophecies are really hard to figure out, right?
Yeah,
right.
It's on purpose, and they're fragmented. There's no constant narrative. You find a little bit in the first part of Isaiah. You find a little bit more in Jeremiah. You find a little bit more here and a little bit more there. It's kind of like little breadcrumbs that you connect together.
Yeah.
Which of course they were meant to connect them together, and they should have. And sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they didn't.
Yeah.
But remember, it says that if the powers of evil knew the plan of God, they would have never crucified
That's right.
the Lord of glory.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of, tucked away. You got to go find it, even in the Psalms and, all this stuff. Remember when Jesus was on the road to Emmaus?
Yep.
And he came upon what I think is his cousin and his cousin's wife. And they say, don't you know what happened? And he says, no, tell me what happened. And it's like, yeah, our Messiah died. It's like, oh, really? Yeah. Oh, wow, that must have been terrible for you. And so then he says, honestly, you just don't get it. And so the whole time it says he explained the scriptures to them. Okay, so what are the scriptures that they had?
Old Testament.
It's only the Old Testament.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is the scriptures. And so he put together all the little dots and connected them, and that it all pointed to him, only they still don't know it's him. They don't know it's him.
Still didn't get it.
Yeah. Well, it says they were amazed. Later on, they'll say, didn't our hearts burn within us? They had heartburn.
Yeah.
Because, but they're sitting at the table, and Jesus takes the bread, which was a little inappropriate. Really, one of the hosts should have taken the bread, but he took it anyway, and he broke it, and they saw him. And then they realized, like, all the scriptures became clear. It's like this: the mystery of God is finished.
Yeah.
And this means, like, universally, like it's known to all the people on the earth and in all the heavens, in the whole good and evil.
No mystery.
That's right. That's right. It's finished. It's the same one he preached to his servants, the prophets.
And I mean, and when it says then the mystery of God is finished, everyone will know him, but that doesn't mean everybody has turned to him.
No. And this is what we're going to get to next. This is the other really, really interesting part. In fact, we really just love this. We're going to drill down on this for a good long while. Okay. So, verse 8, it says, "Then the voice which I heard from heaven, I heard again, speaking with me, and saying, Go take the book, the scroll, which is open in the hand of the angel who stands on the sea and on the land. So I went to the angel, asking him actually, to give me the little book. And he said to me, Take it and eat it. It will make your stomach bitter, but in your mouth it will be sweet as honey. I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it, and in my mouth it was sweet as honey, and when I had eaten it, my stomach was made bitter. And they said to me, You must prophesy again concerning many peoples and nations and tongues and kings." All right. What do you make of that? Any ideas, Pat?
I'm reading over it again.
My brain just instantly was like, out of the eater, something sweet. What's sweeter than honey?
It really, I mean, it kind of goes together, but
Yeah. but no, that one.
But actually, okay, get Ezekiel 2,
Okay.
2:8, and then read through chapter 3:7.
Okay.
So
2,
turn the
8.
corner there. Yeah, 2:8 through 3:7.
Now you, son of man, listen to what I am speaking to you. Do not be rebellious like that rebellious house. Open your mouth and eat what I am giving you. And then 3:7.
3:1 through 7.
Okay.
Just keep going.
Then he said to me, Son of man, eat what you find. Eat this scroll, and go speak to the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he fed me this scroll. He said to me, Son of man, feed your stomach and fill your body with this scroll which I am giving you. Then I ate it, and it was sweet as honey in my mouth. Then he said to me, Son of man, go to the house of Israel and speak with my words to them. My, capitalized there. Yep.
There it is.
For you are not being sent to a people of unintelligible speech or difficult language, but to the house of Israel, nor to many peoples of unintelligible speech or difficult language whose words you cannot understand. But I have sent you to them who should listen to you. Yet the house of Israel will not be willing to listen to you, since they are not willing to listen to me. Surely the whole house of Israel is stubborn and obstinate. Behold, I have made your face as hard as their faces, and your forehead as hard as their foreheads. Like emery harder than flint, I have made your forehead. Do not be afraid of them or be dismayed before them, though they are a rebellious house. You say, keep going?
Did you get to verse 7?
Oh, yeah, I read past 7.
That's good.
They're very hard-headed.
Yes, they are. And we visited this before when we talked about the scroll in chapter 5 and 6. What is this? What is Ezekiel's? Now, it describes the scroll as being written on both sides, because it was similar to the one that we saw, right?
Yeah.
And it says that Ezekiel noticed that it was full of lamentations, mourning, and woe. So it tastes sweet to him, but then
it's bitter to hear.
Yes, that's exactly right. So, Pat, who gave Ezekiel the scroll?
The Lord.
Yeah. So then, who gives John the scroll?
The Lord.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The angel of the Lord.
Yeah.
Who is Jesus? Who is God?
Right.
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 Okay. So that's the other reason why it really just doesn't fit any other way. It is the many facets of God. You know, it's the two Yahwehs. This is just very Old Testament ish.
Yeah.
And it's going to be important that we kind of get this because of what happens in the next chapter, which is very New Testament ish.
Yeah.
And John is just going to beautifully tie all this together in this big interlude, which happens between the 6th trumpet and the 7th trumpet.
So I'm trying to wrap my mind around if it's sweet to eat, but then bitter to his stomach. He's not, since he's taking it in himself, is it bitter to him in the stomach? Because then I guess it's almost like he's hearing the word as well. Like why is that?
Okay, so what in Ezekiel's case, and we're going to look at Jeremiah here in just a second too, because there's some really cool stuff about the language he uses. But so it's the word of God. It is a call to repentance and then it's a call to judgment without repentance.
Yeah.
Okay. So this word of redemption and God's love and God's faithfulness and everything else that goes with it is super sweet. It is the best word ever.
Yeah.
Because, Ezekiel's saying, who am I, and he gets this word of redemption. It's like, oh, it's so wonderful. But then you heard all that language that God used about how rebellious they are.
Yeah.
And I've had to make your forehead harder than their forehead
Yeah.
so that you can even go in there and speak to them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's his own people. His own people he's got to speak to, and he knows that not a one of them is going to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And remember what we saw in Ezekiel around chapter 9 or so, when Ezekiel gets these visions from Babylon about Jerusalem, and there's committing all of this apostasy and idolatry and all these kinds of things, and he's saying that it's going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
The temple is going to be destroyed. I can see it right in front of my face. And I'm trying to tell this to my people, and they
just ain't listening.
No, that's exactly right. And there's this moment in Ezekiel where he prophesies that like a whole bunch of their leaders and prophets are going to die in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And they say, no way, you're on something. And then like a week later, these messengers come from Jerusalem saying, these prophets have all just died. And they're like, oh, okay. All right.
Should have listened to that guy.
Yeah.
Only
like-
if someone told us.
Yeah, it's like, when did they die? It was the exact time that Ezekiel told us they were going to die. So it is this bittersweet thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, we talk about bittersweet stuff all the time. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, everything in, love and relationships is very bittersweet, right? It has its wonderful moments, more wonderful than anything we humans can experience. But then it has some tough times as well.
Yeah.
So the message is sweet. It's redemption. It's salvation. It's life-giving. But it's also bitter because so many will reject it.
Gotcha.
And one commentator says Ezekiel's bitterness, this lamentations, mourning, and woe, is both sorrow for the destruction of Jerusalem and anger because of the stubbornness of the people.
Yeah.
And that sets up Jeremiah. But Pat, read Jeremiah 6, 10, and 11. And then, Logan, you read 15, Jeremiah 15, 16, and 17, which will actually kind of blow your mind. This one is just kind of a warm-up.
All right, Jeremiah 6, 10, and 11.
Yep.
To whom shall I speak and give warning, that they may hear? Behold, their ears are closed, and they cannot listen. Behold, the word of the Lord has become a reproach to them. They have no delight in it. But I am full of the wrath of the Lord. I am weary withholding it in. Pour it out on the children of the street, and on the gathering of the young men together. For both husband and wife shall be taken, the aged and the very old.
Yeah. So this is his sorrow over this. Mm-hmm. He's received this word of the Lord that there's, God's going to take them. He's going to conquer them. But he will judge their enemy as well.
Yep.
But they're not going to hear it. Okay. Read this one, 16 to 17, 15, 16 to 17. Yeah.
All right, Jeremiah 15,
Uh-huh.
and then 15, 16.
No, 16 to 17. Yeah.
I got you. Okay. Your words were found, and I ate them, and your words became for me a joy and the delight of my heart, for I have been called by your name, O Lord God of hosts. I did not sit in the circle of merrymakers, nor did I exult. Because of your hand upon me, I sat alone, for you filled me with indignation.
Indignation, that is also anger. And if you look at the way the Septuagint translated, instead of anger, he uses the word pikria, which is the word for bitterness.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the word pikria is exactly what is used in Revelation.
Yep.
Right here. It made my stomach pikria, bitter.
Yep.
So it's the same kind of thing that John is now getting, basically recommissioned to do.
Yeah.
Is to so you kind of back up and you get this whole idea. Oh, okay, get this. Remember John the Baptist?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what did he eat?
Bugs.
Honey and locusts.
Yeah, honey is very sweet.
Locusts are bitter. Yeah, man, look at that. Wow.
Yeah, that's what he ate symbolically for this very reason. And locusts are not only, they're bugs, so they're not going to be sweet, but also just the image of the locust and everything. What we talked about last week, they're terrifying and they're abhorrent and they destroy things and nobody likes the locusts. I'm sure in one way they're happy that John's eating the locusts, but he's eating the most bitter thing that they can think about.
Right.
And he's wearing that camel hair,
it's scratchy and itchy,
and it just keeps him agitated all the time. So John the Baptist is just like.
I bet he wasn't a fun guy to hang out with.
Oh, I know. And he's wearing that belt like Elijah wore.
Yeah,
he's just like everything about his life is symbolic.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of what we're getting here. Is here's John. He's eating the scroll. And it's sweet on the way down, but it causes his stomach to be bitter because he knows that there will be many who will not hear it.
Yeah.
But here we go again. It says they. I don't know who the they is. They.
They them.
Okay, they them. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Anyway, he is commissioned. You must prophesy again. It must be the voice from heaven and the voice of the angel. I think that's probably what he's talking about.
Yeah. They. Yeah.
You must prophesy again, continuing concerning many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. So there you go. Peoples, nations, tongues, kings. This is you'd like the throne room scene with the peoples and nations and tongues, except for he adds kings. Kings are in charge of empires. Kings are part of Babylon, they're earthly kings. So he's saying, and remember why John is exiled to begin with. It's because of the word of the Lord and the testimony of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he's basically saying, okay, so if you think about this whole entire picture of this whole entire chapter, here is another strong angel. Okay, what did we just deal with? We just dealt with the opening up of the abyss, right? Yeah. All the the tormentors come out of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the four angels and all this kind of stuff, and then nobody repents. So this is God through Jesus coming down and saying, hey, I am absolutely in control of all this. I own the land. I own the sea. Evil will not triumph over my creation.
Right.
And then he's got this little scroll, which is the big. What's the big scroll? The big scroll is God's overarching plan to judge and to save, redeem the world. Right.
Yeah. So
the little scroll is a condensed version of that.
Okay. The abridged.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, abridged. I like that. So, so that is. Isn't that what we're commissioned to preach and teach to the world, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Make disciples. We use the little scroll because that's the story of Jesus. That's salvation. That is redemption. That is faith in God through Jesus Christ. So he gets this scroll and basically it's like, okay, it's open. You can see it. Everybody can see it. And, of course, in the meantime, there's the thunders again. Mm-hmm. And basically it's signaling that, there's going to be an end to this whole thing.
Yeah.
The second coming is going to come. And it's not going to tell you.
Almost told you.
But, John heard it one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, John. So John knew. That's kind of wild.
He probably forgot. Like, I was going to tell you.
It may have been. It was probably such a number so far from there. He's like, well.
Who cares?
I'll be long dead.
Exactly. 17.
Well, and then he's like in 90 AD, and it's
he's like 2025.
Yeah, what? They'll have remote talking devices by then.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's the thunders and everything, but seal up the things. That's a direct reference to Daniel 12 as well. You can read, it's almost like the last verse of Daniel itself. So John's just like riffing on Daniel, and he's riffing on Jeremiah, and
he pulls a ton out of Old Testament.
A bunch in this little interlude, 11 verses. And then the angel who's standing on the sea and on the land lifts up his right hand to heaven and swears by himself that there will no longer be any delay. That's such an important. It's an important oath, because isn't that even in our little world, I mean, don't we just say, man, when is this going to be all over?
Yeah,
yeah.
And basically, Jesus is saying, there will be no delay. It is in process. There's no waiting around anymore. So everything, in other words, everything that's happening in your world today, it has a part to play in
Yep.
the unfolding
Absolutely.
of the consummation of all things, right?
Absolutely.
So that's an incredible promise right there. And then he says, when the seventh angel sounds, the mystery of God is finished, as he preached to his servant and the prophets, all relating back to the second coming, day of the Lord, judgment day, end of times. Okay. And then he says, okay, so here this is for you. Take the scroll, and eat it.
Yeah.
Make it become a part of you. That's the language that Jeremiah and Ezekiel both use. And then you remember when David writes in the Psalm, remember, Pat, taste and see that the Lord is good. Yeah.
Yep.
Remember what Jesus said, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no part in me.
Yeah.
Yep.
And everybody freaked out and
Yeah,
laughed.
and they said, well, we'll see you later.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to leave too?
Jesus' most unsuccessful sermon ever.
Yeah.
Everybody left. Yeah. And
They're like, we ain't no cannibals around here. Yeah.
exactly. But this is what he's talking about. It must become a part of your whole being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then he's saying, you must prophesy again concerning many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. And this is just a little bit of a side note, but I've been, one of my podcasts that I listened to, they made a very good point the other day that, talking about how do we sort of maintain ourselves as people of faith in a world that's very politically charged.
Yeah.
And one of the points he made, and I thought this was a point well taken. He said, your political allegiances have no bearing on your identity as a person of faith, because you as a person whose citizenship is in heaven, you obviously care about your world. You want to care about your world. You want to, you want to have good leaders. You want to pray for them. You want to have good structure, good society. But a person of faith must be in a position to criticize both equally. Mm-hmm. In other words, when no political system is totally free from injustice,
Right.
Yeah.
or corruption, or
Right.
And so, as a person of faith, you should be able to. You should feel your inner convictions to be able to speak that to either whoever's in power.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's what he's kind of getting at here is, of course, we know the ultimate plan of God is to regather all the nations to him. And so obviously he wants John to preach this word to all the nations, all the peoples, all the tongues, even though we know that many people will reject it and they won't listen. But he also wants them to speak to kings and say, kings, you need to get your act together.
Yeah.
Because judgment's coming, even if they don't hear it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the bitterness, is that John knows that there will be many that don't.
Yeah.
Many that reject it. So I'm gonna put a little capper on this. This interlude is not worship, like we saw in chapter 5,
Right.
6. It is not about protection, which is the seal of God on their forehead.
Yep.
That's interlude 1, interlude 2, and you can see how this all works. Mm-hmm. It is commission. Okay, so basically, what the message is that John is receiving here is, yes, you will be protected, you will be sealed, but that doesn't mean you need to go into the desert and live in a cave and just wait for this whole thing to end.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what we want to do, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Just
Just
put our
hide
head
our
in the
heads.
sand
Yep.
and
Yeah.
call it, wait
Yeah.
for it to
So-
pass.
Yep.
So I made the mistake yesterday of going down some rabbit hole on Substack with people who are making predictions about the near future.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I did. I really did. And, it was the whole thing about, okay, we got the bird flu and the cow flu and it's going to interrupt the,
Asian flu, Western flu.
well, and eggs are going to be $8 a dozen by tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to get milk. And you just need to go ahead and stock up and hoard up everything, because nobody's going to be able to eat in 6 months. And, just the whole thing.
Yeah.
People who, I saw a meme today, said this French, dignitary standing on his balcony overlooking all the peons, and it says, people who own chickens.
I've seen that.
yeah. It's like, and so, some of this stuff that is being described in this book is real stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, it's real. And all this stuff that we saw in chapters 8 and 9 with these trumpets, these trumpets sound, and oh, when you know it, the sea gets poisoned. Oh yeah, when you know it, the agriculture gets messed up.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just living in that era right now.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got mental torment and scorpion stings and emotional upheaval and suicidal thoughts and all this stuff. I mean, how is that not part of our world right now?
Yep.
And so here comes the angel of the Lord, the same one from the Old Testament. It's the two powers in heaven. It's the one that's been there, the God that's been there from the very beginning.
Yep.
And he comes down to the earth and says, "Hey, this is mine. It's all mine." So yeah, eggs might be expensive for a while, but it's still mine. There might be too much plastic in the ocean right now, but it's still mine.
Yeah.
And then, he raises his right hand to heaven and swears by himself, it is not delaying. You might feel like it's like we preached on Sunday. You might feel like Jesus is asleep in your boat.
Yes.
But he's not asleep. He's got one eye open. He's watching,
waiting on you to wake him
and
up.
He's watching how we're going to handle all this stuff.
Where's your faith? Where are you putting your faith? Yeah.
That's exactly. And that's really the message of this chapter.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, none of this stuff is supposed to stop. You're not supposed to, cower in a corner. You're not supposed to compromise with Babylon or anything else like that. So I wrote this here. We'll see the two witnesses in chapter 11 who represent the New Testament church. We'll see about that in next week. So we see the God of the Old Testament and the angel of the Lord who created everything, owns it all. We see his message, which is the same message of the Old Testament, it's the same message of the New Testament.
Yeah.
It's the redemption of God's people and the judgment and the salvation of the world, right? So even it's currently, here it is. And his message, which is to continue to go out into the chaos and judgment that is currently ongoing, even though many, if not most, will not listen.
Yeah.
Keep continuing to declare what God declared to his people in the Exodus, that you are my people and I've brought you up out of slavery and liberated you. Continue to preach the message that Jesus preached in the Gospels. Repent, for the kingdom of God is at hand. Even though the empires and the world powers are destroying the land and themselves, even though God's hand of restraint is being lifted little by little, even though all hell has been opened and allowed to wreak havoc in the skies and on the lands, tormenting the ones who dwell on the earth, the message must continue to go out. It's a sweet message with a bitter outcome for many, but it needs to be, and it will be, and it shall be preached until the very last day when those thunders thunder for the last time. What do you think?
That's good.
That is.
Pass the
That's
plate.
good.
Everybody come forward. But that's the mess, and so you can see why John uses all of this Old Testament stuff here.
Yeah.
Because of where we're going next, right?
Yep.
So, and I'll tell you, the two witnesses, that whole thing has messed me up for a long, long time. And it really doesn't mess me up anymore, because it becomes very clear once we start to put some of these pieces in the puzzle together.
Yeah.
So, just kind of preview. He says, I'll grant authority to my two witnesses. They'll prophesy for 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. And they have the power to blow fire out of their mouth and devour their enemies. Power to shut up the sky so it won't rain. Power of the waters to turn them into blood, strike the earth with every plague, on and on and on. And then the beast ends up killing them.
Yeah.
And they leave their bodies in the street because that's the ultimate disgrace, right?
Yep.
And God breathes breath into them and they rise again. How about that? Yeah.
How about that?
So who do you think the two witnesses are? I'm thinking maybe like Skillet and maybe Toby Mac.
No, it's Trump and JD Vance.
Ah, that's it. Why didn't I think of that?
I'm thinking it's got to be Mercy Me.
Yes.
And I can't think of another one, but that
Mercy Me and Sadie Robinson.
there you go.
Sadie Robinson, good job.
Yes.
Good pull.
Kirk Cameron and Franklin Graham.
Kirk for sure.
Yeah.
And Kevin Sorbo. Kirk and Kevin.
Sorry, I know they're watching us, so I'm sorry.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, exactly. This is some of the advantages of not yet going viral.
Yeah,
You
we
just
can
say
talk
whatever in the
about
world.
them.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, but then when we go viral
I know,
and we
they'll
get
go
into
back.
those spats, that just
I
is
know.
good. That's good publicity.
Well, it is, yeah, and they'll probably try to cancel us, but we can't be canceled.
Yeah.
We're like the two witnesses, right? Just
That's
lay
right.
us out in the street. God will breathe life into us.
Yep.
Yeah,
No,
don't
we're
worry
on
about that.
YouTube. They can't cancel us.
Rebellious is in our name. What
It
are you
is.
going to do?
It is, and you knew that when you got into this thing,
Yep.
right?
That's true.
Yep.
That's true.
You were going to hear something rebellious. That's it. Yeah, and if it gets too bad, I'm going to drive my truck to your house and park it there and walk home.
Oh, that's good.
That is good. Yeah. No, man, that's
So what do you think, Logan, about this little interlude thing? It's the first part of the interlude. The next chapter is also part of the interlude.
I like it, man. I like I said, for me, a lot of this is just nice to understand. To be gaining an understanding, I guess, an even better way of putting it is because, like we said from the get-go, the imagery is just so vivid in
Yeah.
Revelation, and that's what scares so many people. I
know.
That's what makes people. I know there are people that are like, I just don't bother with Revelation because they read something like here, I gave him the scroll, he put it in his mouth, his
I know.
sweet tea, then it's bitter in his stomach, and people read that and they're like,
Yeah.
what does that mean?
You don't know.
So to finally kind of be breaking down, all right, this is actually what that means.
I had to stop myself. I was
Yep.
trying to read ahead.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and honestly, let's just say that for sure we're not getting every detail right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna heaven and earth are gonna be rejoined together, and Jesus is gonna come down, and he's gonna put his hand on my shoulder and say, "Nice try, son. That was cute what you did there, and you really gave it your best effort." But we're not going to get every single detail right, but. What we're doing is exploring a much more faithful way to read this kind of literature, and really digging into the message behind it. When we connect it with all of the Old Testament references and the storylines that run through, then that is a much more faithful way to do it.
Yeah.
Not by somebody's system that was concocted in 1832.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, I changed from understand it to understanding it.
Gaining an understanding. Yeah, I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
Because I don't know, I would actually say no one understands.
Except for the people that John wrote it to.
Yep.
They would understand.
Yep.
They may not get every detail right, but they're going to look at this stuff and go, okay. You just like we use the analogy of a political cartoon.
Yeah.
You got an elephant and you got a donkey, and they're both, I don't know, playing hopscotch. We're going to understand what that means.
Yep.
Maybe not word for word. There might be a detail we miss in there.
Yep.
But we're gonna get it right off the bat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Pat?
I agree with that. Yeah.
You've been awful quiet over there.
Man, I've been sitting here reading. I've been stuck in my trying to get ahead. Really, a lot of it comes to play in the next chapter, but
Pat understands it is what it is.
no.
Yeah, that's right. Pat has a special insight. Pat probably knows what the thunders say.
That's
You
why
heard what they said, didn't you?
No, that's why I got quiet because I was reading. Man, I really think the biggest thing for this is we have to read this in comparison to the Old Testament, just throughout the entire narrative of Scripture. We have to go back and trace that so we can understand where this is leading.
It gives us a lot of clues, and let's just say, now, some people go, "Oh, well, you're getting so freaked out and fixated on the Old Testament. This is New Testament stuff here. This is, but let's just say we can't leave the Old Testament out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line.
That's fact.
Yeah.
Because it's just everywhere. And John is using this to communicate a vision that even he doesn't know how to describe. And so he's got to, sort of assemble all this stuff to make it start to make sense.
Well, I appreciate the meshing. And like you said, in the next one, going to get into the New Testament because I feel like you almost got two camps of people. You either have your Old Testament folks or your New Testament folks.
Right.
And so I enjoy the meshing of both worlds because it messes with people because it's like you can't just cling to the Old Testament and you can't. It's like your New Testament people basically want to just forget about the Old Testament.
Yeah.
And then your Old Testament people, they just can't get out of the Old Testament.
Right. They can't, they just can't, Well, and that's where we get a lot of this preterist stuff, Oh, well, all this stuff is in the Old Testament, and Jesus talked about it in Luke and in Matthew, so it must have already happened.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
So let's forget about the beasts, and let's forget about the dragons. But here's the wild thing about it is because we see the Old Testament, anchored in the Old Testament in chapter 10. We're going to see the New Testament witnesses in chapter 11.
Yeah.
And then the message of the gospel is all right there in 12.
Yeah.
It is the message. That is the content, basically, of the little scroll that John got.
Yeah.
And it is the content of the message that the two witnesses are speaking. The whole interlude is really about the commission to be faithful to the word and continue to spread the gospel even in the midst of all this other stuff.
Yeah.
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 And that's how it all makes sense. What do you think, Pat?
Pat's too busy reading over there.
Man, it makes my stomach better, but it tastes like honey.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, there you have it. Revelation chapter 10. There you go. I don't think I left anything out.
I don't either. The interludes are always tough because it's transitional between what's happened and what's coming.
Yeah.
And
well, they always kind of leave you hanging because that seventh one, they don't get to it.
they never do, man. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm over here trying to read ahead. But now I'm forcing myself to stay in 10, and I'm trying to read it in context.
Yeah. Well, you will read the first 14 verses of chapter 11, and then boom, there's the seventh trumpet. And how does that end? Verse 19, the temple of God which is in heaven was opened, the ark of his covenant appeared in his temple, and what? There were flashes of lightning and sounds and peals of thunder and an earthquake and a great hailstorm.
There you go.
Intensify.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Yep. Intensifying.
So there you go.
More than peals of thunder. Yep.
Yeah, and they add hail to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, hail.
It's yep. All hail is breaking loose.
100
So
pounds.
remember that phrase, angelomorphic Christology. You can impress your friends with it.
Yeah, that's a big one there.
That one impressed me. I'm not going to lie. I was like, okay, let me break this down. It's a Christophany in angel form.
Angelomorphic Christophany.
Yes.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Will you guys take you a second? Let us know what you thought of the episode. Let us know how you feel about Revelation so far, and if you have a good understanding of the angelomorphic Christophany, and hit that like button, hit subscribe.
You did a good job trying that phrase there.
Yeah, what is it?
Good. You did it right.
Oh, I was going to say, did I mess it up?
No, you just jumped right in.
I was like, I'm just going to roll with it.
Yeah.
Good job,
So,
ladies.
thank you.
Smash that button, ring the bell. That's what we're talking about.
Do it.
Give us a like just for Logan nailing that.
There you go. First time I've ever said that.
And you said it correctly.
It is. Never. I'd hate to spell it.
Spell right there. Angelomorphic. You add an O in between angel and morphic.
I would have probably not spelled that right.
Yeah.
Angelomorphic.
I had to ask AI about it because I wasn't sure how to spell it either. But there you go. That's what it is. Now you know a new term, and now you know what's going on in chapter 10. And then we're going to forge ahead into 11, into 12, and then, oh my gosh, then we get to meet the beasts.
There we go.
Yep.
All right, guys. Catch you next week.